thank you, David, and indeed thank you, Hugh, Rob and Rachel, all of whom contributed to our evidence, as did some of the others of you out there. We were extremely well served in the people who talked to us, and I think we, at the end of it, produced, as you said, David, a good and worthwhile and timely report. And I'm going to leave it to you to read it, because I think it's worthwhile, rather than trying to summarize it to you today. I think you will get the best out of it, but I will try and focus on the bits of it which cover inclusive digital education, and in particular, adult education. Digital literacy is absolutely crucial. Almost all of us will need to be digitally literate to get through life in the next generations, and we will all lose if we leave a chunk of our society digitally illiterate. It will slow us down as a country. It will mean we all do worse, not just the people that we leave excluded. And government has got a crucial role to play in enabling the sort of developments and change that we need. And we styled our report as a wake-up call to the new government. So did they? Well, no, I think they rolled over in bed. But that's not beyond hope. I've got a young daughter, and so we fling open the curtains and let the sun do its work, and we shall get there in the end. At least they have picked up on apprenticeships as a direction. At least they seem to be committed to a proper rollout of high-speed broadband. But then they go and move the digital centre of government to DCMS, which is not exactly the centre of the world. There's a nice enough minister there. And we just have not had progress on what we really hoped to see, which was a powerful digital voice right at the middle of government. Because digital pervades everything and connects everything. And without that top-level connection, you just get some very odd decisions, and you see it in all sorts of powerful bits of government. Where is the understanding of the needs of our digital economy in government policy on immigration? It's made by the Home Office. They don't talk to anybody else. They don't seem to care about the economy when it comes to immigration. I was listening to a minister yesterday trumpeting what we're doing with HS2, that we were building for the 21st century an iteration of a Victorian technology, as if they had not heard what was going on with autonomous vehicles. As far as I know, there's no thread of thought in that process as to what we will actually be using for transport in 30 years' time, and what the requirements will be, and what it will look like. It's just, no, we're building a better railway. And any of you who have come across the Airwave contract, which is the big communication system used by the emergency services, being managed out of a department which just has not got a grip on what the consequences are of moving from a dedicated network to one reliant on ordinary commercial communication systems. And to get those things dealt with in government requires a really strong centre for digital understanding. It requires a voice which is heard in all aspects of government. And there is no sign of that at the moment. But we are where we are, and there are things that we can do. And we can, with a bit of help from government, I think make some real progress and some real changes over the next 5 years. We focus in the report on skills. We say that there is a chronic digital skills shortage. And the government is doing a bit at the schools level about that. There is a recognition of the need for digital literacy. There is a new curriculum in IT, focused a bit heavily on coding. But there is nothing pervasive about IT in schools. If you're learning history, you're not really doing it digitally. It isn't something that is just part of school in the way that, say, English is. I think the thing we can do to make that change easiest is to make sure that every child in school has access to the internet out of school. Once that becomes a universal characteristic of children, it becomes easier to set homework that way. It becomes easier to set projects that way. It becomes easier to involve the IT that so many schools exclude at the door and say, turn off your phones before you come in. That becomes available to the school out of hours. And I think that anyway, it's something we should do. And anyway, it's technically possible. And it's not going to cost that much to do it. So that is something I think that we can do and which we can campaign for the government to do. When it comes to educating adults, well, if we're complaining about a digital skills shortage, the place to look for remedies is not schools. Anything we change in schools is going to take 10 years to come through to the workforce, but the adults are available now. And just because adults weren't trained in the skills we need now, they're just as capable, they have to be. And when we haven't suddenly changed as a species, the capacity to be programmers or anything else in IT must be there. And we need to find ways of tapping it. And we call for industry-designed and endorsed short courses. The point of that is once you're adult, you've got commitments. You have to have something which you can tap into. Indeed, you probably have to have something which is quite short, which tells you that you've got some capability, something you can do in a week, something that perhaps doesn't cost or doesn't cost much, that you can say at the end of it, I might have what it takes to be a programmer, and which someone providing a course in that will recognise as also as an indication that they have what it takes to take a digital course. So that you start to be able to say to people in midlife, hang on, there's something you should look at here. And what they need next is courses. And what they want out of the course is that it will be recognised at the end of it when they've taken it. We haven't got that in the UK at the moment. If you look around, I was looking around for my older daughter for a business course the other day. There's lots of them out there. You haven't a clue which ones will actually mean anything to an employer at the end of the day. There is no information for people that is reliable as to which course to do, where to turn. It may exist within structures that I didn't know how to access, but it's just not there in a common way. And if you're asking someone to take a turn in life and say, I've done enough as a hairdresser, I want to be a programmer, you've got to give them something accessible and reliable so that they know if they take on a course, probably substantially at their own cost. Because we're not looking at a time when adult education is overfunded. You've got to give them the information to make that judgment. And things have to be up to date. The courses absolutely have to be courses which industry will recognise and support, and which they have been involved in the design of, so that you know someone from industry knows that someone who's done that course is ready to go, is ready to be up and running. And the person doing the course knows that that is something which will put them in a position to get a job. If I might tease City and Guilds, being a member of council, I feel able to. We were chatting over lunch about the course you run in maths skills, having English skills, just not being tuned to what's really required in the workplace. There was a question in one of the English courses, write a letter complaining about a plan to build a wind farm. And a kid in the middle of Lambeth, what's a letter? What's a wind farm? You know, it's not. These things absolutely have to be tuned to what's going on at the moment. We're not good as an educational system in keeping our qualifications up to date. We need something which is run at industry speed and not at educational speed. And so we get behind the idea, and I hope this is something that we can push, that we will let the tech partnership loose on IT qualifications, that we will get a set of qualifications which are absolutely driven and specified and kept up to date by industry, which they believe in, which they will support, and which the providers will be able to deliver, because that provides a conduit for people, for adults, through into the workforce. And I think that is something, I mean, the tech partnership has developed a great reputation with government. I think that's something, if we got behind it, we could do it, and would be an exemplar for other things to follow. Microsoft has a wonderful apprenticeship scheme. Is that really accessible to adults? Have we done all we can as a nation to make that sort of opportunity one which is available to a 40-year-old the way it's available to a 20-year-old? There are opportunities there for things that we can do. We can get careers guidance right, I think. I mean, it's something I spend a lot of my commercial life doing, and I know how many other people are active in that. And we have some determination at last in the Department for Education to do something about it. And at last the Department for Education are friends with biz rather than deadly rivals. So we might well get some progress in that, and that would be immensely helpful if we can do that. But within that, one of the big things we can do is support industry's own initiatives. I know how active the CBI is on industry supporting itself, on helping understanding of careers and opportunities spread. And Digital Leaders is another example of how industry is working to help itself. We need to, as a government, get behind such things rather than trying to duplicate them or legislate them out of existence. There is an awful lot to be done to benefit from what is being done already. And for those of you who have a geographical life, who are running something in a particular place, I think there is a great chance these 5 years, looking at the way the government is approaching locality, to make something out of being placemakers, out of helping shape the community, getting together, drawing together all the people and organisations and skills who exist locally, connecting that with people who are prepared to help outside. And if any of you want ideas for such connections, I'm happy to provide them. To provide structure and a common purpose to changing things in your particular part of the world. The government has been doing things about that. I mean, the idea of local technology clusters is one which we supported in our report, in which the government still appears to be behind. There are individual examples of it succeeding. I particularly admire the AHEAD partnership in Leeds. But it is going to be a time when you have to come forward. We were listening to, me and my work shadows were listening to George Osborne taking Treasury questions and talking about what is to be done to build up the North as an area of economic prosperity. And he said it is up to local areas to come forward with their proposals. That is absolutely going to be the way the government plays this. And it doesn't matter where these things start. A bubble starts with a little bit of dust somewhere in the champagne glass. It can be you or anybody, just somebody to start the process of getting something together which starts to look good enough for the government to want to back it. And I think that is going to be the way they will look for things. They will look for local initiatives, they will look for individual enterprise gathering together what the government can't, because the government is hopeless at creating local structures and making them successful. And they will look for you to bring that forward so that the government can help it succeed. So I think it is a time when all of us have a hope for starting something and making something of it with the help of the government when it gets far enough on. So I am an optimist at the end of this. We did not, with our trumpet blast, bring the walls of Jericho tumbling. But perhaps with all your help we can give an impression that there's a herd of elephants on the way and the government better pay attention. Thank you.